Hello and welcome. This is
Hello.
definitely still Noire.
Yeah, welcome back to Los Angeles Noire. I've learned how to pronounce Los Angeles now. Hmm.
This
Okay.
is the post credits. We did see the last parts of the game, and we're going to talk about them while we play through
Yes,
Cole
we are.
Phelps's Nightmare.
So here's my question. Yeah, this is the obviously the new game plus. Here's my question. Did you end up putting a video online of the newspaper that we missed, the cool one?
I have not done that yet. One will
Right.
go up with
So
this video or shortly before I post this video.
right. So feel free to talk about what's in that cutscene
Yes.
during this. So I
That
guess
was a video game.
yeah. Was it a good video game?
I don't
When we
think
went
so.
into this, what were our attitudes initially? I remembered L.A. Noire as initially one of my favorite games, basically. And I played a lot of video games. I never thought it was like the best game in the world or that it wasn't flawed at all, but I remembered it as unique, as giving me a kind of experience which I would like to have more of in games, which nothing else does, and as having been basically fun all the way through, with lots of good moments and high production values. Your initial recollection, I think, was different.
Yes, I thought L.A. Noire was a hot steaming pile of trash. I didn't even finish playing it because check out that demon up there. That's Cole Phelps's
Oh
recollection
shit!
of Roy Earl,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
He's gonna
actually
jump on
he's the
fence.
main reason that I did not finish the game.
He's gonna take you away to the vice disc.
Yes, but I have escaped his wily machinations here. Um, yeah, I thought that the game, like, I was interested in the parts where you were solving crimes and like doing cool crime stuff. I was less interested in the story that they were telling, and it turns out that the story is actually
It's the
like,
point of the game, and the rest of it is contorted to fit the story,
yes.
basically.
And
The mechanics are in service of the story.
on replay, it turns out that the gameplay itself is actually not as good as I thought it was.
I had that experience too, that reaction. I have to admit, after watching you encounter all that gameplay, a lot of it looked like it was mediocre. The
It did
driving
not
was
feel
like
mediocre. It felt actually worse than that, I
really.
would say.
So stuff like random run and gun bits.
The random running and gunning, like, I would say that's aggressively mediocre. The parts where I actually had the problem was, oh wait, there's nothing over there.
The clue music is not playing anymore.
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you. But the gameplay parts that I didn't end up liking were the interrogations and the investigations were largely fine, but they really needed to have better, hey, you're done here. We found one at the very, very end of the game, which was the magic notebook that solved all of my problems. But that's a stupid solution.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the actual mystery gameplay, because there's two kinds of gameplay in the game. There's the open world stuff, which is there for no. I was going to say for no real reason. Okay, let's not talk about the mystery gameplay. The open world gameplay is there for a reason, which is that they wanted to create like an immersive cop simulator. Like, the game goes to great pains to make you play out sort of every moment of a case, except when it doesn't for narrative effect. But yeah,
Yes.
it has immersive sections, right, where it makes you pick things up with your hand and rotate them and so on. And the open world stuff is like
from things like to murder weapons to styrofoam cups.
yeah, yeah, useless, not connected, and so on. And so the open world gameplay fits naturally into that, but isn't at any point good. So we'll kind of disregard it because it's there as an interesting design choice, but which has obvious flaws.
Yeah, it's mostly there,
actual-
I think, to extend the gameplay time, because L.A. Noire came out when people were still like,
Oh yeah, a game
what
has
kind
to
of
be
value am
long
I getting for
enough.
this? These days, games like Wolfenstein, the New Order, has a campaign that's about, I'd call it about 10 hours.
Yeah.
And that's, like, plenty. You get all the Wolfenstein you
Yeah.
need. There's no need for, like, a weird open world.
I think that as savvy gamesters, we have long since realized that game length, quality, and cost are just not connected to each other. Like, a game will cost between $5 and $50. It
I'm
will
just keeping this
be
message on the screen
between.
for a little bit.
I didn't even know there was a message there. I don't know how you found that. It looks very difficult to spot.
It's actually
So
right in front
well
of the
done.
store here.
I'm not sure I would have noticed it myself.
briefly talking about the game that we're playing right now, I do like to do the falling R2 there, because it does slightly more damage than just hitting R1. Anyway.
Oh, it's not quite as cool, but it's still cool, yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Okay, this is...
I'm out of practice.
Nice. Okay, so this is obviously a counterpoint, right? Dark Souls, this is not Los Angeles Noire, really.
Yeah.
This is an unequivocally good game, right?
Yes.
Everyone knows this is a good game, apart from some particularly contrary people online who are like, no, the thing other people say is good, I'll say it's bad, here's the reasons I made up, I'm very smart. But no, we know this is a good game, and it doesn't have the forms of narrative and gameplay dissonance and other problems that we're going to talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why it's here. It's a counterpoint.
It's a counterpoint, and also, I promised to make this video when you were first recording Dark Souls 1, and I never did, because it turns out that recording videos is hard, or it was then, and now it's easy, so here I am.
Oh, Shadow is amazing for that, yeah. NVIDIA has made it just kind of... you know what? I'm not going to do that. It's too late. I've already said the name of a brand, but I terminate this conversation. Okay.
Fair.
L.A. Noire. The open world gameplay we can dismiss. It basically, it never could have been good. Like, it isn't... See, I'll come back to that later, I think. But basically, it isn't good and it couldn't have been good.
Right.
The core mystery gameplay is what makes the game unique, and what you would think could have been good.
It definitely could have been.
So it's very bad when it isn't. And in fact, if it's the low light of the game, as it sounds like it was for you on the replay,
definitely in terms of because the story,
in terms of
the parts that I had a problem with originally, it turns out that I was an idiot for having problems with. Like, I had definitely a bad read of the game and a poor read of Cole Phelps.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's the one thing I really feel vindicated on, is that I think we found that yes, the story is good rather than bad, at least in many parts, rather than being the big problem of the game.
I would say it's not the problem. I would say it's the reason to play it if you want to play L.A. Noire. I just wouldn't say that you should probably want to. You might just
Well, in fact, that brings up, who would you recommend L.A. Noire to? My answer is visual novel enthusiasts. That is, people who want to play, who want to take a story, in this case a noir story, and make it interactive. That is who the game is good for. It's a very, very high-budget version of, like, Phoenix Wright.
I think that's right, but I also think that that's like, hey, this game is actually going to be, like, if you like visual novels, you will like the parts of the game where there's a story, but also there's 30 hours of bullshit that you're going to have to get through also.
Yeah, you might not like that. I was particularly susceptible to L.A. Noire, because I love Phoenix Wright, for example. I love crime, or fictional crime, anyway. No, I love crime in real life, too. And are you seeing through the world there? Oh, no, right, it's just an artifact of texturing. Okay, and I also love open world games, like the base gameplay of like driving around in a car and getting out of the car and getting into another car on foot.
Right.
It just feels really good to me mechanically. Like, that's one of my favorite styles of mechanical control. And so having a game which is like basically an interactive crime story plus bits of like driving around, etc., I was kind of always going to enjoy it unless it was really crap. But I mistook that at the time for it actually being a good game.
Yes, I think that it had sort of a siren song quality of like it's doing something that you don't really see in these kind of games, or in fact in any types of games, and also it's built on the Rockstar Crime engine.
Of Lordran, land of the ancient lords.
Sorry, I don't want to spend too much time watching the cutscenes because I kind of just want to.
Yeah, we have seen them before. The game did things which I would like people to do, which no one ever does do because it's stupid to do them. Like,
it's stupid to do them. It's wildly expensive. It destroyed the studio and, in fact, the AAA Australian games industry.
Yeah, it was the last AAA game ever made in Australia. L.A. Noire did not just kill the studio; it killed the industry, as you say. Because it doesn't make sense to spend $200 million on an interactive story.
Yeah, this is basically like a more playable modern version of like Sewer Shark, if we're being like cruelly reductive here.
It's much more playable, and it's better than Sewer Shark, and it's not even like a perfect rendition of the above. Like, it clearly has its own flaws. I reckon the thing which frustrated you the most, from my perspective, was getting things wrong. It seemed like you felt like you were being punished as a player.
So
when
that's
something
actually
went wrong.
something that they do. They kind of mix who's being yelled at, because like Cole Phelps gets yelled at for his story decisions, but he's also the player avatar when it comes to like you screwed up on this case. Now the chief is mad at you, the player.
Most cases have two endings: one where you get yelled at, and one where you get praised. It's true, and it is interesting that whether you get praised at the end of a case kind of comes down to two things, as far as I can tell. One is, did you hit the mechanical boxes? Did you answer the questions correctly and pick up the clues?
Yes.
And then sometimes, but not always, the other thing is,
did you go
along with? Yeah, exactly. Did you go along with the police view of the world? Right. Now, I'm totally fine with getting yelled at for not following the second one. Like, I think that stuff represents like Cole having flashes of rebellion and trying to be a better person and like going against the corrupt police force, and people and he's like, whatever. But it's mostly not that. It's mostly you didn't pick lie or doubt correctly, so here's your yelling.
Yep. And
yeah.
Oops, jeez, there's a lot of skeletons here. I always forget how many goddamn skeletons there are. Also, I forgot that there was a necromancer there at all. It's been so long since I've played this game from the beginning.
You have to kill the necromancer to activate the bonfire, don't you? Yeah.
Yes, because there's bad guys nearby. But it turns out that that's fine.
I mean, running directly from the Firelink Shrine into the catacombs is a pro getting killed move.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. I do it anyway because I want the Zweihander, which is in the cemetery there.
It is good to have the Zweihander, yes, and you now have it. So, well, you don't have it very effectively, but you have it. It would have been nice to kill the necromancer, but it was not actually essential.
And now I'm just like out those 600 souls, which is fine.
I admit it's really tempting to talk about Dark Souls. It's a better game. I mean, obviously, it's better than almost every game, but like,
it's really fucking good.
Hello.
Yeah,
also, did they come out the same year? I think they did.
No.
Did the what?
Did Dark Souls come out the same year as L.A. Noire?
2011, maybe. Yeah, could do. Certainly in that year, it was the better game, if so. And also more generally.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too harsh on it because I still like it, but like I reckon if I had been replaying it rather than you, I would have pretty much had fun and probably not noticed as many problems either, like as I have that biased view of it. But also, the trouble is I keep coming up with new criticisms, riffing off what we've already said here. Like the questions thing doesn't just lead to you getting yelled at.
It can also lead you just like not completing the questions that you, or not getting all the information that you need to even get more stuff.
It derails the progress of the interesting but fairly linear case stories, leading to this situation where they have to put you back on the path of the story. So they do it in clumsy ways, which sometimes show through even when you get the questions right? So like,
there were definitely times where like we got the right answer, but we didn't get any information from it. It was just like,
yes,
you got the sense that the guy was lying about something, but you didn't have any more things to ask. And there were a couple times where we actually like, we had enough information to prove that this person was involved or whatever, but we still, like, the game wasn't comfortable with us being there yet.
Yep, yeah, that definitely happened. I'm thinking of, for example, the time when you had to kill 50 men for no good reason.
Yes.
Because although you knew that the guy at the paper manufacturing, the driver's license slip
they had this exclusive license to print driver's licenses for Los Angeles,
and you talked to him and
to do crimes.
That's right. And you talked to him and like, you're guilty. And he was like, not really, maybe. I know the chief of police, right? And you're like, you don't really know the chief of police. But then you have to leave. You don't get the option to like further investigate or accuse him. You have to leave and kill 50 people. And then you can arrest him.
Yeah, and then the guy is like, oh yeah, that guy that you thought was involved, totally involved.
Yeah. And that was one of the better cases, I think. A slip of the tongue. Not for that reason, right? But it had some good characters and funny moments in it.
It definitely had. I think it was maybe my favorite case other than the setup.
Mm-hmm. The setup was the best case. Yeah.
I actually might pick the Quarter Moon Murders as my favorite case because it had the least talking. And that's a bad reason for it to be my favorite case, but it is.
I do like... Okay, I'm going to... on review, I now know why I think the setup is the best case. The Quarter Moon Murders is pretty good. It's a nice culmination of an arc thing. The setup is the opposite. It is a rebellion against a story arc. The setup is the one moment when Cole manages to rise above the vice desk and like defeat them. Right? He's like
Yes.
he's on the way down at that point. Right? His doom is inevitable. He doesn't know it yet, but Roy has already kind of fucked him at that point, or planned to.
Plan to,
And he's
definitely, because I
already-
think he actually fucks him in the next case.
Yeah. But in the setup, Cole he manages to defy his doom a little longer and do a good thing for the right reasons and everything. And people are like, I can't believe you've done the right thing, and that's cool. And that's a good moment, as well as just being quite interesting in general as a case.
Yeah, as a case,
But-
I could maybe have gone without the lady getting murdered for apparently no reason. Like there was.
There's a lot of that in the game.
Yeah.
It's aping its genre conventions, but it does add up into modern sensibilities, which are kind of just better sensibilities mostly. You're standing on that guy's head.
I thought you could just. Oops. Hey, sorry, buddy.
There's
Normally
a
I
lot
thought
of
when you
it.
just like walked onto that, it would shatter under your weight, but apparently not.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead and naked women in LA Noire. We haven't really talked about that beyond the murder, beyond the homicide desk, have we? Like it's yes, it's the source material, and there's probably less of it than in the source material, but it's still
Like the
still
entire
not-
homicide desk was literally just like, hey, here's a dead woman after another. Also, you have to accuse the wrong person as their killer every fucking time, no matter how convinced you are that they didn't do it.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, there must have been a better way to get across what they were going for than to have so many. Either that or what they were going for wasn't that worthwhile to get across.
I really don't think it was. Are you talking about false accusations or dead women in that instance?
Both. There's at least one too many false accusations. Like it's just okay, yes, okay.
Yeah, we get it, we get it, we get it. Also, they bring it back in the arson desk, and it's bad there too.
Yeah, but couldn't some of the cases have been about like the serial killer, the same guy, has screwed up in some way and caused a different kind of problem, right? Perhaps he, I don't know, ran away from someone who spotted him committing a crime and killed them, or drove over something in his car and so the traffic is involved, or did some other kind of crime or mistake, and that gets misattributed. It doesn't have to be all.
I would have liked if one of the cases had been actually, like, this is a copycat.
Yeah, like almost all of them were the killer. And then one of them like throws you back off the trail because you're like, oh, I see. I guess it wasn't a serial killer after all. That would have messed with the formal conceit.
It would have.
Like the kind
but I think we've already agreed that the formal conceit wasn't really like that worth going for.
This is definitely an on replay thing too, because I liked it the first time.
I definitely
again,
liked it more the first time. I don't know if I would say.
I might not. I just might have been worse at liking things back then. Oh no, a dragon. Jesus, it's coming to life.
How did I dodge that? Okay, I didn't dodge that one, but normally it just gets me the first time.
Oh man, that bile animation thing doesn't really hold up very well.
No, a lot of the graphics in this game are kind of.
Yeah, so looking at Dark Souls 2011, right, which felt like it looked reasonable when it came out.
Yeah.
And Los Angeles Noir 2011. LA Noir's art holds up.
Yes,
I
definitely.
make that claim.
And the facial animation technology, like it's hilariously overacted in a lot of places, but it actually it makes the actors look like the actors, which is incredible.
Yeah, I've seen some comparison photographs of like the real actors and the characters in the game, and they really looked right. Yeah, apparently it cost like $50 million or something to do that.
Yeah, and it turns out that is one of the many reasons that the studio is dead.
Yeah, and so no one's ever done it again. So another way in which the game is like kind of unique, but so it'll always hold a place in my heart for that, for giving me this like insanely high production values interactive crime story, which I wanted.
That's not the jump button. I'm so used to... So I've got it set to the Dark Souls 3... Or I have it set in Dark Souls 3 to hit the left...
Another one. Hollow after hollow, plunging to their deaths.
Yeah, they're a bunch of dummies. But yeah, in Dark Souls 1, you hold B and then you tap B again to jump.
Yep.
I have it set in Dark Souls 3 to hold B and then you tap the left stick to jump. So in that instance, I just literally ran off the side of the cliff and was like, oh, right.
In Dark Souls 2 and 3, I changed it back to tap B. I cannot do the other one. because my hands are too small. Like my thumb, the way I hold a thumbstick, I cannot click it while holding forward on it. Like I just physically barely can't really make the motion, so I have to use the Tab B controls.
What controller do you use for PC stuff?
Xbox One controller now, but when I was playing in Dark Souls 1 and 2 at least, and possibly 3, I would have been using 360 controller. So yeah, when I'm holding with my left thumb forward on the stick, I cannot easily or fluently, without like making my hand shake around, basically I can't click the stick. Got small thumbs.
I guess I just have bigger hands then. Huh.
Yeah, most people have bigger hands than me.
How did you ever use the original Xbox controller? Like the Duke, they called it?
Nope.
Okay.
I did not. It would probably have been huge.
Yeah, the thing's fucking gigantic. I had one, and I never used it because it was too large for my hands.
Yeah. Many things about the original Xbox were sizable in a number of ways.
It's quite large. I believe.
Notable.
I believe, in fact, you live on. Australia is currently made out of Xbox. The original Xbox. The original Australia sank into the sea. They replaced it with an Xbox.
No. It's not the whole country. Tasmania is actually a separate island, which is just a normal landmass.
I see.
That's one of the 1S controllers.
Oh, jeez. Boy, I'm pretty out of practice for Dark Souls. Not really being good showing of myself.
A game which involves being practiced with the controls and so on. It's funny how you did like the harder early run past stuff, because that's just a matter of knowing what to do, right? But then the control mastery stuff is harder to remember. There they go again.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, one of the coolest things about the game is that it starts out being like an execution challenge from the start, and then it just keeps being one.
Yeah, and this is actually the part of the game that I like. The first time that I played Dark Souls, it was on PS3, and I didn't know what to expect, so like I went into it and was just like, oh, I heard this game is really hard, and then it turned out to be hard in a different way than I expected, and I was just like, oh, this is bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit. That's the trick.
Yes.
It is really hard, but it's not bullshit at all at any point. That's that's why it's so good.
And speaking of bullshit, hey, Noire, there's a lot of bullshit in that game.
Okay.
The clue finding the clue finding is actually surprisingly not bullshit. I am sort of upset about one of the ones in the second to last case, the Nicholson electroplating, where it distracts you from the...
Oh, yeah, we missed a cool clue because it, like, tricked us. Like, why do that? I mean, yes, your trick worked, but why did they do that?
Yeah, and, like, there was no reason to miss that clue, but that was the difference between getting a 3-star rating and a 5-star rating on that case. That one clue.
Which is, so, interesting point at how much the ratings matter when you're not doing side quests. Like, you never did free roam mode, you never did the street crimes apart from one. Those are occasionally interesting, but not usually. But they're more gameplay if you like the gameplay. I did most of them the first time because I did like it, but I think I was wrong too. Anyway, if you don't do that stuff, if you do that stuff, that's where most of your intuition points come from. So if you don't do that stuff,
any of it, like all of my intuition just came from the getting high ratings on the cases.
Stars. Which, and then it's a vicious cycle. But one which gets broken by the silly tricks we found. Yeah,
the magic notebook...
and the magic numbers.
The magic numbers are really incredibly, unbelievably stupid. However, they made the game much more convenient and playable. So, honestly, I shouldn't have needed them, but given that I did, I guess I'm glad that they're there. It's just also very stupid that it worked. Yeah, it is. It's amazing how... To the numbers, I had real trouble believing. The notebook is very obvious. Like that was like, it's showing you whether you found all the clues or not. Which is silly because it took us way longer to actually figure out the magic notebook than it did the. Partly because we didn't need to. We weren't looking for an easy way to find out that because you were pretty good at just being diligent and just like moving around, listening for noises and looking at the environment. Yes. Like that stuff seemed to come more naturally to you. Yeah, definitely. That is actually something that I enjoy in games. Is just like wandering around environments looking for all the clues. Like, I really like this. I ended up finding a lot of the same place. Sorry, I was talking over you for a second there. You find the treasures and stuff. Yeah, like I enjoy exploring the environments in these kind of games. Oh yeah, exploring is great. But in LA Noire I wasn't quite as good at that though because I like exploring as in moving around maps and finding new things on them. Spending a lot of time in one place doesn't come as easily to me, and I do miss parts of it if I'm not moving around. There were definitely things that I did miss because, like, I didn't know about area or something, or I assumed that it wouldn't let me go if I didn't have all the clues from somewhere, but it turns out that it totally did.
This Zweihander is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, especially early on. It just one-shots everything. The
Yeah,
problem
you
that I
shoot
have
a
with it is that...
huge sword, you swing it through their head.
The problem that I have with the Zweihander is that, like, I'm not a big fan of the Ultra Greatswords. A Greatsword, I love them. My favorite weapon in this game is the Man-Serpent Greatsword, which is...
It's a good weapon.
It's a fantastic weapon. It scales amazingly with strength. It's like a reasonably fast swing. Like, Greatswords in this game are just my favorite weapons.
I like them. What was my favorite weapon in Dark Souls 1? Oh, you know what? This is a cheesy answer, but it's the Black Knight Halberd.
The Black Knight Halberd. Well, I played the...
I know it's my favorite because it's the best, but also I do actually like it.
I'm actually not a big fan of the halberds.
Oh,
like the Black Knight weapon of my choice was, of course, the Black Knight sword, which is just the greatsword version of the Black Knight halberd. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and I do like the halberds. I like the halberd moveset considerably better than the greatsword, I think. And also, it's just the stats on it are better for no particular reason. Something had to be the best statistically, and it turns out that is. Yeah. So the numbers didn't add up to me for a long time. For a long time, because I didn't believe you at first that everyone just got the lie ones wrong all the time. Because, like, to me, the difficult bit is working out whether it's doubt or lie or truth, which is frequently fairly opaque, right?
So
like there are
I definitely had a lot of trouble differentiating between doubt and lie a lot of the times, because
I have a lot of trouble with truth versus doubt as well sometimes.
I think by the end of the game we were pretty good at getting whether it was truth or doubt versus lie. Like the one of those versus the lie was always where the breaking point was, because
true at the end, but we did make some mistakes like that throughout the other parts of the game, I think.
Yes.
Like the beginning and middle parts, we definitely weren't good at that at first. But
there
the
were parts
lies
of Homicide where, like, we were talking to people and they were clearly lying, but were they lying or did we just need to doubt them? And we chose wrong, which is how we ended up arresting one of the guys that made me very upset at the time, but it turns out that it was totally irrelevant, whatever.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, whereas when it comes to if you've been given like a sentence and you're trying to pick the evidence that is a contradiction with it, well, I've trained in hypergravity by like playing every Ace Attorney game several times, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's easy. It's
I think if I had played every Ace Attorney game, I would like the interrogations part much more than I did. However, I haven't trained in hypergravity, so I just mostly found them to be difficult and sort of opaque.
Yeah, and they're what show off the cool technology and what drive the heart of the stuff. So, okay, the core gameplay is so flawed that it can be actively a drawback and make the game worse instead of better. And that's the core point of the game in terms of gameplay. So that just makes it, as a game, that kind of excludes it from being an objectively good game. Like, it's a crippling flaw.
Yes. God, I love just slamming those dudes into the fucking ground.
they can get screwed, and they did in fact. I didn't really expect to end up agreeing that the game has crippling flaws.
Yeah, you were definitely a big proponent of this game, which is kind of why I was curious, and also why I wanted to have you do this with me, so that I wouldn't just stop. Like, I think I would have just stopped if I was doing this solo.
A lot of fun to watch and record and talk about it, but so I'm happy we did it, but it is, I guess, my illusions have been shattered. Although, okay, god damn it! This area of the game, right, and that enemy and the little bits like that. There's a part of Bloodborne which is like a much better version of this part of the game, and I wish you could play Bloodborne. Anyway,
I really wish I could too. Someday.
I want to see you play Bloodborne, but we can't do that right now, at least. So, basically, though, I was so much a proponent of it when we have argued in the past, because I think of the complaints you were raising, which were almost entirely story-based.
Yes, and it turns out that those complaints were wrong. The story of the game...
It's not the problem, at least.
Yes. I don't think it's great. I think it's maybe worth seeing if you don't have to play it.
I have just had that experience, and I will say yes.
But I would say that it's not worth having to play the game yourself for it. But my problems with the story originally were like, I thought Cole Phelps was a cool cop guy, and it turns out that
Who was getting
cool cops don't
completely
exist.
unfairly owned.
Yeah, it turns out that cool cops don't exist. That's a fake thing that I thought because I was an idiot.
The game is pretty clear about this. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, like it's blindingly, stunningly obvious. I'm not sure how I missed that the first time, but I did. And so when Cole Phelps gets betrayed by Roy Earl and gets owned out of Vice, I was just, I was just like upset that it happened, and I didn't want to be in Vice in the first place because like I've just been owned out of Homicide as well by being too good at my job.
It would be incredibly upsetting, that series of events, if you were Cole Phelps. Like, can you imagine how painful that would be? Your chance at redemption taken away, the things you won't give up, compromising the only other things you cared about anymore, being unable to take down this corrupt guy who, like, he was clearly setting up to go after Earl, right? Like, throughout Vice, he was going, okay, you know what, I'm going to have to clean up the Vice desk. He was working himself up to it, and then that gets denied, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, you lost. He gets to give your eulogy and talk about how good a friend you were and how good a cop you were, right?
See, I didn't even get to that part because, like, I was just like done as soon as we got to Arson Desk. I was just like, no, I'm not interested in seeing more of this. I have seen enough.
Yeah. It's fantastic how Roy's final betrayal of Cole is calling him a good cop and saying the rumors were false.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. What a fantastic.
Cole Phelps deserved every moment of that eulogy.
Yep, he absolutely did.
Except for maybe the parts where people were positive to him. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that one yet.
Elsa had to walk out though, because Elsa, perhaps alone of the character, no, not quite alone, but Elsa saw the good in Cole and wished that he had been like able to find redemption and so on, and indeed be with her. And yeah, I mean, obviously Cole had his friends and support as well.
He had supporters. I'm not sure if he had friends.
There were people who, at least would like him to beat Roy. They would have, from Galloway and Bukowski and Biggs and so on would all have been pretty happy if that happened and been like, yes, good. This is good for the police force and for us.
Yes.
Right. And they were willing to help towards that end, but it wasn't on the cards.
And also like they were willing to see him beat Roy Earl specifically, and maybe even the Vice desk, but they probably wouldn't have given him any awards for it. They would have just been like, phew, glad that sucker did the job for us.
I mean, the game even mentions this explicitly a couple of times. There's, I think in Nicholson Electroplaning, the chief tells you if it was anyone else, you'd get an award for this.
Yes.
If you were anyone else. I know you don't.
Yeah, like that's a good moment. But that's kind of where I mentioned it earlier. The game uses Cole Phelps to yell at you for being bad at solving the cases. I think I over-identified that with, like, you should feel like you're playing as Cole Phelps, and so when Cole Phelps gets owned for being a serial cheater and an awful, god-awful leader in the war...
Oh, yeah, I mean, most of his sins are, like, forgivable things, but then the army stuff is like, no, that was what he did, which can't be recovered from, essentially.
Yes, the man is a war criminal.
Once you get like even the cowardice stuff, it's like, well, it's, tragic backstory, empathy with other Marines or whatever, but once you get to the massacres of civilians and so on, it's like, that was...
Yeah, and see, a lot of that comes through in the Arson Desk, doesn't it? Like, I don't think I got to the parts where he was a war criminal. I just got to the parts where he was, like, clearly out of his depth. He shouldn't have been a leader. He was a spoiled rich kid.
He was getting Marines killed, yeah.
And, like, he was overwhelmed, and clearly it's like, you feel bad for the guy. It's that in Arson Desk you find out that also you shouldn't feel bad for him at all.
No, I disagree with that. I don't think you shouldn't feel bad for him. I think that's reasonable and natural to feel bad for him, but you can't, like... It's just that, nevertheless, it's impossible to condone. It's like it doesn't matter. Like, it's ultimately...
You feel bad for him, but he did, in fact, do a lot of war crimes. Even though he was, like, overwhelmed and shouldn't have been in that position, he still did do the war crimes.
Yeah, like, one of the final scenes has Cole going, it was war, I can't be held responsible. And then, like, 5 seconds later, he's being held responsible and, like, a natural disaster comes to fucking murder him. And he's like,
I guess I should have been held responsible.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I guess I kind of deserve this. Yeah, you take Elsa. Like, he's clearly at that point when he says I can't be held responsible. He's meaning, oh, am I actually responsible? Oh,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. It's when he didn't recognize Ira at first, it was like, how could he not recognize him?
Yeah, that's
But
the man
only
that he
answer
sent
is
to his goddamn death.
Yeah, but then it's the only answer is because of how hard he was trying not to, basically. That's a backstab.
Speaking of his efforts in the war, there was a cutscene that like I looked away during it or something. The one where he gets shot in the
when
back.
Courtney shot him in the back. Yeah.
Yes, I was like, I don't know how I missed that. I must have been looking away from the screen at that moment. But yeah, he totally gets fragged by his own troops.
Yep, and they're
so.
all like, yeah, and Sergeant Kelso, who was at that point the de facto remaining officer, is like, well, okay, but no one ever fucking talks about this again.
Yep.
It's like, it's pretty much everyone's reaction, I think.
Which is
They're just like, yeah, that had to be
mercy,
done. We had to
sort
stop.
of. Like so by not telling anybody about anything, they're also not mentioning that like Cole Phelps should probably be on trial.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not a great decision. It's just, it's a war is hell moment. It's
yes. It's a mercy to Cole but also like Courtney Sheldon will never see the inside of a court-martial for shooting his commanding officer.
No, and he goes on to commit like much worse mistakes. Sheldon,
God,
like, so maybe his lack of judgment should have been called out and punished and saved other people from getting fucked up and killed, right? Like,
is that the message of LA Noire? Like, justice will find you eventually, even no matter what form it takes.
But the message. I think the message is, if you're trying to find redemption for the mistakes of your past, the only thing you can really legitimately do is atone for those mistakes. You don't get to move past them necessarily if they were that bad. Like, maybe you can atone for what you've done. That doesn't mean you get to be absolved. Is I think L.A. Noire's thing. People who've made mistakes and done wrongs, not just Cole, a bunch of other characters, trying to move on from them, and in some cases what they've done is so bad that they can't, basically, but they can, if they do go down the right path, they can at least address their mistakes. I think.
I think that's fair.
You can't sneak up on this guy.
Yeah, watch me.
Oh, can you backstab him? Oh, nice.
Easy.
And he takes... Oh, for the moment I was like, oh, he takes 15 damage. It actually 157. Wow, that's a big chunk off the Black Knight's health bar.
Yeah, the problem is now that, like, I don't play this game shieldless very often. It's pretty much just like when I'm starting with this Zweihander, you don't have the strength to wield it two-handed. Or wield it one-handed. So now I'm just like, well, I can't parry this man.
Kill this guy. Come on, don't give up on it.
Don't give up, Skeleton.
You've got to train for hypothetical Bloodborne.
Okay, well, I'm gonna die.
No. You should have attacked there.
I should have.
Yeah, you would have won. Yeah, that's the Estus instinct. It can get you healed.
It works really well when you have a shield. But when you don't have a shield, boy.
Yeah, you have to attack. Yeah, I have been there in that place that you were. I've been to at that place. I took a vacation there, and I liked it so much I decided to move in, and now it's my home. Yeah. No. The zone of not being aggressive enough and just getting killed because you didn't inflict the greatest status effect, death. Okay, so
I love shields in this game.
We've talked about a lot of the stuff. There's not all that much more stuff about the Lenoir.
We've talked about a lot of the problems. I don't know that we've been super positive about anything. Like, you're more positive on the game than I am. Is there anything you want to call it specifically as just like, this is an unambiguously good thing that the game did?
Like I said, I do specifically like the story. I think it's a good noir film story. In fact, we were just talking about Courtney Sheldon and him shooting Cole. And the cutscene, which viewers of this video may have seen the companion video, with that final newspaper flashback, where Cole, Biggs, and Roy Earl find Courtney's body, having been murdered by Dr. Fontaine.
Yes.
And Earl, of course, starts insulting him, saying he's OD'd and so on. And Cole gets so pissed off that he almost murders Roy Earl at that point. Like, he has a gun on him, and only the presence of, like, a uniformed police officer stops him from just shooting Roy dead.
Yeah, he's fucking furious.
You get the sense that Roy would have got out of it somehow, no matter what.
Right, because
right?
Roy Earl is the literal devil of the game, and he will
is.
get out of
it.
everything.
He is the Satan figure. Like, he would not have been. Cole would not have been able to kill him. He didn't have the moral authority to. But it's the agency by which he didn't manage to kill him was like a witness. But still, he was furious, and it's funny that this happens just before the cutscene where you're like, by the way, their last interaction in the war was Sheldon shooting him in the back. And,
yes.
That's because Cole knows on some level that was the right and necessary thing to do, that someone had to finally stop him, and Courtney was the one who did it.
Yes.
And someone's like, oh, thank goodness I was defeated.
It's a very, like, I guess villainous instinct of just, like, you're the villain of the story, you just don't realize it at the time you're doing all these villainous actions. And he's just like, oh, thank God, some hero was there to snap me out of it. Unfortunately, it was Courtney Sheldon, the dumbest man alive, but,
Yeah, pretty much. When they meet again in the interview room, he's like, Courtney, I hope you've been doing well. I see you've probably been committing crimes, which is unfortunate, and I wish it wasn't the case, but I'm going to get you for them because I'm a smart detective.
And he was.
And then
he was very close to actually...
Oh, yeah, he would have got him. Maybe.
It's funny that, like, the only thing that saves Courtney Sheldon at that moment is... the entire Vice Squad coming down on Cole's shoulders.
Yeah, which happens because Roy is helping Fontaine, basically, through helping the SRF. Like,
it turns out that they actually don't care about the drugs at all. They were caring about the things that the drugs were funding. And it's just basically Cole made a mistake. Oops, I made a mistake.
They were just trying to steal $3 billion from the federal government, basically. Yeah. So overall, the story of the game, the main part of the story, I think is good. What else is good? The we talked about the art and models and stuff. Animations not okay. No, the animations are fine, but there aren't enough of them. Like, there's not enough incidental movement and things happening in the city, so that doesn't count.
The facial animations are good, but they're overacted. I'm still not sure if that's deliberate or not. MRI Chalk brought up on the first page that, like, they totally do overact in a bunch of noir movies. That's like a thing of the genre, and it's like a thing that, like, as a video game player, you need to have, like, these cues telling you, yes, this person is lying.
Yeah, I don't think it's, like, overacted in a way which is a specifically harmful thing.
No, it does look fucking goofy as hell, which is why there are a bunch of silly videos about it, but...
Yeah. But they weren't silly videos which constituted, like, a massive rejection of the game. Like, unlike, for example, Mass Effect Andromeda recently, where bad animation, overacting, etc. was, like, a thing which, like, sunk the game.
Yes.
In this case, people were like, well, it's a good game in some ways, and also here's the funny animations which are
it looks goofy, but, like, if it didn't look really goofy and, like, very visibly...
might be necessary or whatever.
Yeah. Especially, like, as you get further into the game and the doubt lie thing crops up again.
So here's another unambiguously good thing. Immersion. The game does the moment-to-moment thing where it's like, here, play out every part of this, including doing the mini games where you chase someone and sneak, and then, like, driving to the crime scene, and then walking to the rubbish bin and taking the knife out of it. Just, would you like the procedural feeling of being in every part of the moment?
Yes, and it turns out that, like, I actually did enjoy a lot of the moment-to-moment crime stuff. It's just that, like, it felt really clunky a lot of the time. Like, my problem wasn't that it was there, it was that it just, like, it could have somehow used more polish or, like, a different engine or something. The car chases, the car chases were fun, kind of.
The use of the GTA 4 engine was an odd choice, and it meant that, for example, car chases would be good, but other stuff wouldn't. Like, it's
also the car chases were
like
good, but also you got penalized for them. Like, the driving penalty thing reared its ugly head a lot. The optimal decision was actually to not... Oops. That could have just, like, gotten me blown off the side of the wall.
Hell yeah, it's the Taurus demon.
This feels really... Wow. I feel very afraid right now, which is...
Because you don't have a shield.
Yes. Oh wait, I'm doing so much damage now. Like, so much damage. Like, I stagger the Taurus demon in 2 hits. That's incredible.
That's cool. Yeah, that's because you don't have a shield. It's a
big fucking...
I mean, when I first played Dark Souls...
He just did damage to me by stepping on me. What a jerk.
Because he's a huge fucking minotaur. Whoa. You gotta embrace it though, like,
he just did it
again. I know
again.
back with the game, I extremely relied on shielding all the time, but after Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, I've definitely come around to the dodge style.
Yeah,
it's staggering. It's hilarious.
It's really good. This is actually kind of incredible.
He's like stops doing stuff because it's like, fuck, I can't believe I've been hit with a size Zweihander.
Yeah, like this tiny man has a sword that's almost as big as my big fucking axe. The problem is that I didn't put any points into endurance, so I just can swing twice and then die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, have you put any points into anything?
Strength.
Ah. Because you're trying to work. Right.
Yeah, you do damage. The more damage you do, the faster they die.
Like you're going through it for here. Right. So, do we have anything else to say about Los Angeles Noire? It was a big game. It's got its story and it immerses you in it, but it doesn't necessarily do it well. As core gameplay, while there are good things about it, can just be frustrating and gameable.
Yes.
It looks good. It sounds good. The acting and so on is good.
There is an audience for this game. It's the kind of people who like visual novels and noir, but also like really enjoy GTA type games. If you like all three of those things,
you are talking about me. Like
yes.
I would still enjoy playing the game today. But
if any of those things like aren't true, then you're just like, well,
you're gonna find some problems with.
You might want to watch this game, but you probably wouldn't want to play it. Or like if you like GTA and noir, then it's like, okay, well, I hope you like can deal with adventure games as well.
Yeah, because you do have to like hunt around for the clues and things. I used to love old adventure games. Yeah, it came together as a nexus of. I am someone who used to play a lot of point-and-click adventure games, then moved into like action open worldy games, and I've always liked like crime stories and films and stuff. So for some reason, they made a game for me.
Yes, they made a game for you, and then destroyed the Australian video games industry for you.
I mean, this happened partly because the studio was very badly managed by like an egomaniac bully boss type guy, though.
I have an email into the Giant Bomb cast. I don't know if they'll actually answer it because it's a very specific, esoteric question that may have no answer, but I really want to know what happened to that guy.
Yeah, should we even say his name? Like, do we have a popular podcast which may be sued because we called a person a bad man? No, I don't think so.
Beetlejuice.
We're talking about Brendan McNamara.
Oh, right, I forgot the dragon.
It's a fucking flaming dragon. Wait, you survived somehow.
I'm very strong.
How did you survive that? You must be strong.
Sometimes you just do. I've never actually been clear on why that works, because sometimes it does.
Oh. That's cool, I guess.
More than once when I've been running down from having just been sprayed in the back by the dragon, walked right past this ladder, just went right down here and was just like, fuck.
Yeah. I thought for a moment you were going to die, and then I realized your fuck was because you didn't kick the ladder.
No, I did kick the ladder, but nice. I've done that in the past. Yes.
Hypothetically, yep. So, what are the differences between Los Angeles Noire and Dark Souls? Dark Souls bends every element of what it has, narrative, mechanics, atmosphere, etc., to a single purpose. And they're all good, basically. So it comes together into something that is greater than some of its quite good parts.
Yes.
Los Angeles Noire has a lot of crap in it, right?
Yes.
Some of which is good. Some of which is good, like your modeling or whatever. Definitely some of which is bad.
They made a video game based off of what somebody said must be in a video game. Like, if you want to make a video game, you need to have the open world part, because all video games are open world now. And if you want to make a video game about crimes, you need to have all of these different parts about crimes. You need to have car chases, you need to have shootouts, you need to have all these things. And it turns out you actually probably don't.
All those things are cool, but it reminds me, you know what other game it reminds me of? The Godfather for Wii and possibly other platforms.
I actually played that game. I remember liking it way more than you would think from a game based off The Godfather.
Right, that's what I was going to say. The game was actually quite good. And its core stuff is kind of a crime plot. I mean, it's the plot of The Godfather, obviously, plus city takeover gameplay.
Yes.
But a lot of it is based on that. The difference is it's based around the gameplay rather than the story. And the main thing you do is city takeover stuff, and all the game mechanics work towards that end. And then the missions are just like, there's GTA missions, which are the plot of The Godfather, which is a good plot. So it kind of works. In LA Noire, they try to do original. I really like the structure of it in theory. The desks full of cases, the elements of the crime stuff, the little stories, all inspired by most of them inspired by classic films and so on.
Yeah, some of them literally just ripping the plot of. I think it was The Naked City that. They uploaded to their YouTube channel, which also
far from the other one.
Hilariously, that's the case that says we liked this so much that we thought we should put it in the game. under the homicide desk. Oops. Oops.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the best place to die, I guess.
Oops. But yeah, the Naked
Yeah,
City,
they
they said
actually
that they
got-
should put it in Homicide Desk, and it's actually in Vice, because Homicide
Yeah.
Desk is all about their stupid Black Dahlia.
Yeah.
I'm still very sour about that part of the game.
So a lot of the game's failings come from, I think, being made from 2004 to 2011, like two different ways. First of all, 7-year development time, massive budget, huge staff turnover. Obviously, its production process was kind of a disaster, which leaves marks on it,
Yes.
such as restructuring the game and so on, as which you mentioned. But also the period during which it was being made, 04 to 11. Think about that. That was the console era, right? Like,
Right.
that was the height of the stuff with chest-high walls, tutorialization, everything which once came close to destroying gaming, basically. Like, it was
video games
probably
were very.
the worst period.
There's a different kind of video game now, the Ubisoft open world model, but there was like
Yeah.
a very move towards like every game is going to be like GTA somehow, including games
Yeah.
that absolutely should not be anything like GTA. Like I think LA Noire.
Such as LA Noire, yes. And there's no way it could escape because it was being published by Rockstar Games and made using the GTA engine.
Yes.
So it got made a lot like GTA unnecessarily.
There's other examples like that, including games that are actually good. Like The Saboteur could have been a game that didn't have a GTA engine in it, but it did, and it was fine.
I never finished that, but I got partway into it and I was enjoying what I did play, but I didn't get the momentum.
It's a very
Yeah,
cool look visually. It's a very cool game visually, but it is maybe a little too GTA for its own good.
Yeah, that particular. I felt compelled to do all the side objectives and stuff. The
did-
dragon appears to still be here. Have you
Yeah,
pulled the lever?
I
Open
didn't know that
close
it
the grate?
could fire this way. I thought
You
that
have
it
to
would
pull the
fly
lever.
away.
Pull the lever.
I can't. There's fire. Fire's
Well,
bad.
man up.
There is in fact too much fire.
I think you were meant to pull it quicker.
Nope, it's gone. Oh no, I guess it's super
I'm gonna
not.
pull the lever. God damn it.
Where's the
It's
lever?
to the
Here it
left
is.
brigade.
But yeah, the dragon is
Okay.
supposed to fly away as soon as you're like underneath it. It shouldn't fire
Yeah, I
fire
guess
this
it-
way.
It was pretty smart of it to do that, though.
Yeah, no,
almost.
it's correct. I've just never seen it do
was
that
good.
before.
Yeah.
That's another thing. One last Dark Souls La Noire comparison from me. Dark Souls is a game that still surprises me, no matter how many hours I put into it. LA Noire kind of, it's got
Yeah.
its story, and there's
Despite
nothing.
being a linear fixed game, right? This is not an open world game at all.
Yeah,
It feels like one in some ways because you can experiment and approach things creatively, and yeah,
and the different weapons that you
the
get
times-
give you like different play methods. So like in this instance, I've been doing kind of poorly because I'm so used to having a shield. But
if you've been doing it more morally than usual, though. But the times when we tried to influence the plot of LA Noire missions and usually failed, right? Once or twice we got super mad about it.
yes,
But then occasionally succeeded because occasionally they program in like different endings and plots, but not usually. So it kind of gives you a false sense of hope.
yes, you're basically playing a very poor DM's campaign. They've
In fact, I
they've thought
think
of
it's-
some of the options, but not all of them.
And it's not even like some, it's like a tiny one or two throughout the game kind of thing. Like, having been able to look through the wiki now, some stuff which I thought was reactive is not. So it's really not significant reactivity. Oh man, it's the Spike Pig. Good luck with him. I first
This
met
is
this guy, I
actually
had problems.
I don't think I probably have died to this one. In fact, I know I have because I got a sorcerer up through at least this part of the game, and I'm goddamn awful with magic. That's actually
You
why I
probably-
made Cole Phelps a bandit here and not a sorcerer. He should be a
Yeah,
sorcerer
he
by
should
all
be a
rights.
sorcerer, right? Like Cole would play as a sorcerer. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm the smart guy with the book power."
Yes, give me the smart guy class. I would like to be the smart man.
Yeah.
But the problem is that
Educated.
I would die even more than I have already.
I wonder what happened to his rich family.
I wonder what happened
That's
to his
something
his wife and kids.
Something better than what was happening to them when he was around.
Yes, but like They weren't at his funeral for good reason.
No, they weren't.
Like they were
It was
probably
funny how
getting a
they.
divorce.
It was funny how they weren't there while the mayor and the district attorney, I don't think the mayor was there, but the chief of police and so on, and Roy fucking Earl were like talking about how he, actually didn't cheat on his wife, although, she's still divorcing him for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't explicitly say that, but he kind of implied it, but it was...
Roy
I
definitely
don't know if he
implied
expected anyone... I don't know if he expected anyone to believe it.
But I'm trying to
Except
think
maybe
now,
the
like...
papers.
I think, was that the only time that they appeared on screen? Like, his wife and kids appeared on screen at the very beginning of the game, as he's, like, kissing them to go off to be a patrolman. And then they
Not
appear
even his
when
kids back
he's
then.
being thrown out
For
of the
most
house.
of the game, for the most of the game, we didn't know whether he had kids until he mentions them offhand in a conversation once, and we're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
because it's just clearly not very important to him, basically, which is terrible. It's basically yeah, he had a family as an accessory, basically, because you're the son of a rich family who's like a war hero cop, political ambition, clearly political ambitions guy, etc. Obviously, you have a wife and kids. Yeah, necessarily.
Yes.
That was it. That was all there was to it. Until he actually meets Elsa, and he's like, "Oh shit, I am sexually attracted to this woman." Huh.
I like the
Wow.
pretty lady.
What was it on Cole's side? We kind of got a taste of why Elsa likes him, which is some weird reasons, but she's a weird person.
What the?
But
Uh-oh. Fighting on the stairs never goes well.
Not with this Zweihander, no.
No, that's minor complaint that I have with Dark Souls 1 in particular is that fighting in corridors with the large weapons that I prefer always
It
goes
doesn't
bad.
work.
Oh, God.
Yeah, enemies can swing their weapons through corners frequently, but you can't.
Oh, hey,
Hey,
a
good
Black
job.
Knight Greatsword. I guess I have to keep playing now.
Nice.
Fuck.
Yeah, I guess this character's a goer.
Yeah. Oh, wait, that's the Greatsword, though. The Greatsword's the one that's... Ooh.
I mean,
so
yeah,
slow.
right now it's obviously a lot of damage, but it won't scale that well, will it?
Well, the Greatsword is... The Black Knight Greatsword is the Ultra Greatsword, so it's the slow move set,
Yeah.
and also it's many dexterities away from me.
We've got a weird R2, but I mean, you could win the game with it.
Yeah, you can win the game with anything.
You can,
Except-
yeah, you can
well,
exactly.
You could win the
You
game
can
with the
win
broken
with
short
boss.
sword, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's fucking boring.
I have seen someone win the game with dual cestises. He played God Hand Dark Souls. In
my
real.
Dark Souls 2 character, for the time that I was playing Dark Souls 2, I had one that used dual cestus.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
cesti
fucking
in
cool.
that game are
It's
actually
kind of
fun.
difficult, but it's cool.
Do we have any final thoughts before we stop playing Dark Souls?
I guess let's give a final verdict. I say, LA Noire. While things like its production values do surprisingly hold up, I would only recommend it to people who are aware that it's a game with a pretty decent story and significantly flawed interactivity. Flawed both in that it's done at random and and there's too much of it. It's nonsense interactivity, and sometimes the core parts of the gameplay have a significant chance of frustrating you and feeling too random. And it's you have to be aware that you're not really influencing the story, even though the game presents the trappings of story influence.
Yes. The caveat that I would add there is that if you're worried about ever being frustrated by anything, just make sure that you check your magic notebook, which will solve a lot of the problems that you have with failure.
Yeah, I mean, the case notebook being useful is good, but I don't think it was useful for the ways the reasons they wanted it to be.
No, absolutely not.
It's just if you happen to be watching this video for some reason and I guess didn't watch anything else, be aware if the numbers are below. So if the people who got the question right after using an intuition point readout is below 99%, let alone significantly below, that means the answer is lie, because a lot of people who use an intuition point then fail to pick the evidence correctly for the lie answer.
Yes, which is weird. There were a couple times where we weren't sure which one of the evidence was correct, but it turns out that in most cases, both of the ones that we were deciding between were correct.
Yeah, according to the wiki, quite often there's multiple possible right answers there.
The only one that I think was actually difficult was the one where you're talking to Courtney Sheldon, and the answer is lie, and then there's two different things which are kind of similar, but they're you can only pick one for one and the other for the other question. You got it correct. I was not sure, but I went along with what you said, so it turned out okay.
Nice.
I think that's the
That's
only
'cause I'm
one
a-
that.
That's
I
because
think
I'm a
it's-
cool, smart detective who's won the Silver Star for my courage in Okinawa.
Yes, absolutely. I think my final verdict is that I would recommend watching this game if you're remotely interested in the concept, but I wouldn't recommend playing it to hardly anybody.
That is ultimately a fairly damning indictment of what was ultimately a product produced to be sold.
Yes.
Like, don't play it. It kind of is about the worst a game can be in. Like, you can say really don't play it, or definitely don't play it, or if you play it, you'll get super sad, as opposed to, oh, you probably won't enjoy it. But they're all just kind of shades of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
This
it's
is-
not good enough to play, is what you're saying, and I see why you were saying it. Can't entirely disagree.
It's definitely like there are people that I would recommend to play it. You
Yeah,
specifically.
you have to be into specific niche things, basically,
Yes, and like
with
all of them
$1 million
simultaneously.
game. So,
And it's just like
yeah.
if any of those things are not your jam, you're gonna have a really bad time with this game. But the
I'm
story's
glad they did
okay
it.
and kind of worth seeing.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad they did it, but it was a bad decision to do it, and they could have done it better. They
Yes.
should have.
also, I don't think I've mentioned it in this recap video, so I just want to say the decision that they made to have you get penalized while you're driving around is a fucking stupid one. Like
You
I
have actually
understand
said
why
that
they're doing it.
multiple times.
Like it's a thing that's been done in other games where you play as a cop. It's meant to make sure that you're not driving around like a GTA maniac.
Yeah.
However, driving in video games is only fun when you're doing it fast, and I would like to get from point A to point B fast. So
Yeah, the driving controls are at least like the best controls in the game, so it's not that hard to do it well. But
yes, but
I
like
guess
I crashed into many things, and like
what if it was cosmetic? Like you get a readout at the end of the case. Here's how much damage you caused.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't affect your rating.
that would be totally fine. It's really only that it affects your case rating. I don't think it dropped me more than 1 or 2 stars throughout the campaign, just because like after a certain point, the damage that you have to cause to start getting it penalize you is like $2,000, which I only hit a few times.
I definitely liked some of the driving segments specifically. The chase you did with in the traffic desk, there was a case where a guy stole his employer's car because his employer bribed a politician who sexually propositioned him, and he was like offended by that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird case, but it was
That
cool.
case,
And
that was
a cool.
DLC, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The
I
console's
think so,
car.
the console's car. Yeah, that was a pretty good one actually.
It
Eh.
wasn't one of my favorite cases, but it's not like on the list of cases that I thought were actively bad. There were
The
a couple
traffic
of those.
desk piece, yeah. Traffic desk was where the game showed a different kind of game it could have been.
Yes,
and that would
I liked
have
that game
probably
way
been
more,
the game.
actually.
It seems like that is the game a lot of people would have preferred. I would think.
Yes, it's definitely a game that they weren't interested in making. It's also not very noir, but
No. Yeah, you would have questioned why the title of the game if you made it, but yeah, it's not. But it would have been like CSI LA or something. Well, not quite.
True Crime Streets of Los Angeles, which I believe is
Yes.
in fact a game.
Literally that. Yeah. Eh.
But yeah, I
Yes,
like
the
most
final
of Traffic
verdict is-
Desk. Vice Desk I actually ended up liking a fair bit more than I did the first time around.
Yeah,
Arson
Vice
was,
is
I think Arson was
very
the best desk.
cases. Yeah, I mean, Kelso's a cool character. Getting to play as someone who isn't Cole at that point is like, oh, well, even if I didn't want this before, at this point I do, right?
Yeah, I think
And-
what I would have done if I had to make LA Noire a game where you were like that was worth playing and not just worth experience or worth seeing, is
Yeah.
I would have had you play as Kelso earlier.
That could have helped a lot, or at least changed things a lot, alternate them and show different perspectives on things, just do a different story and find different structures and
Yeah.
do something about the interrogate. Yeah, there's just a lot of changes you could make, but
Like if you would
But
have
yeah, I did
Kelso
like-
investigating something from like Homicide Desk onward.
yeah, there's definitely good things in that desk, and a lot of them revolve around Kelso's approach to situations, where he's like, well, for example, oh, this guy is legally untouchable, so I'll shoot him.
Yeah. I will
He's not
shoot him in the
physically
leg,
untouchable,
and then
is
when
he?
he gets mad about it, I will stomp on the leg that I just shot and see how he feels about that one. Oh, he doesn't like
Yeah.
it? All right.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh man, it'd be interesting. It's interesting to imagine. Well, to me, it's interesting at least. What happens after the end of the game? Because I'm pretty sure Kelso is still the DA's investigator, right?
Yes.
At that point, like that's now his new job, right? And Peterson has won the DA's election on the back of solving this scandal. Except Peterson made a deal, right? He seems to have, in exchange for like getting Leland Monroe, I think, and maybe Curtis Benson. The rest of them seem to have escaped punishment. The mayor is still the mayor. The police chief is still the police chief. Roy Earl, of course, is where he is, doing whatever.
Roy Earl was also like less involved than the rest of them. He only showed up after.
Yeah, he was kind of
in order to help the cover-up, basically.
Crimester. Yeah, and oh, nice, hell yeah, I'm going for the spike pig. But still, like at the end there, Peterson's shaking hands with the corrupt mayor and so on. He clearly is like, yeah, he's made his deal and he's got his fame and he's not actually trying to clean up the city. I wonder where that's going to... Well, if there'd been an LA Noire 2, I bet that sort of stuff would have entered into it.
Probably. But
hey, you got the helm. Nice,
I think that's
like
actually
a red
automatic now. They changed the
was...
drop rates at some point where, like, enemies that only appear once...
Oh, hell yes. It looks cool.
This is now Cool
Nice.
Phelps. He's no longer Cole. He's just Cool.
That would go so well with Eileen the Crow's cape. I want to see that combination somehow modding, I guess.
Oh god, everything that I'm wearing is so heavy though. Like I don't have anything that's light enough to, like, literally naked except for a Zweihander and a boar helm.
You may want to take off the board helm for now. Oh dear, that was not a great roll. Oh, just remembered I spent the first half of Dark Souls fat rolling.
Yeah.
I didn't know better.
I told you at the time, and then you were like, I don't see how much of a difference it could possibly make, and then it turns out that it makes a very large difference.
I didn't see how much of a difference it could possibly make. It was true, I was telling you the truth there, but it makes one.
And then I think you...
Okay.
I don't even remember why you did that in the first place, but then you just, like, took off enough stuff to, like, medium roll, and you were just like, oh god, what have I been doing?
No, I think what happened is I put on Havel's Ring, actually, which is, like, the classic move, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, that was LA Noire.
Yes.
I hope that someone watched it and enjoyed it.
I hope that somebody watched it. I don't hope that anybody enjoyed it. They...
No, not even the videos?
I hope they enjoyed the videos. I hope they enjoyed my commentary on the
main
videos.
thing.
I hope that everybody
that's what I
has looked at this and said, boy, I'm glad that I wasn't the one playing that game.
I think we have done an actually pretty good investigation from multiple perspectives and lots of, like, I don't know, investigation analysis and so on. We've cracked the case. Like, this is a pretty good exploration of LA Noire and whether it's good and whether you should play it.
Yes.
Although, if someone watches the whole thing, I guess they probably don't need to play it, but...
But hey,
Yeah.
there are definitely games where I would recommend, like, even if you've watched it all, you should play it for yourself. Like Dark Souls, for example. You should probably play Dark Souls.
Oh yeah,
even
that's
if you've seen it all.
that is it's the experience of playing it and watching it in this case are completely different. It's difficult to convey the level of difference.
Yes.
Well, at least I'm not going to bother trying.
Yep. So, that's been LA Noire. Thank you for watching. Now hopefully the
Thank
game
you.
doesn't crash as we close this video.